Hey everybody, this is Mr. Moppin coming at you with an AP US history video. Today we're going to be taking a look at topic 1.2, Pre-Columbian Native Societies. Now, in this topic right here, we go through, more history in terms of actual time than at any other point in this course. In fact, if you take pretty much the rest of the entire course of terms of chronology, you will not get nearly as far as we will here today, literally going back thousands and thousands of years. Now, when we do talk about, American history as we understand it, we obviously have to go well beyond colonial times to the societies that are actually native to North America. And if you are talking about, the beginning of North American civilization, it actually starts in Asia. If we go back approximately 12,000 years ago to about what we would call 10,000 BCE, BCE meaning before Common Era, it's just kind of a secular way to denote time, you will see a phenomenon known as the land bridge. And as you can see here on this map, the land bridge basically was a lowering of sea levels at a point where today we would see a separation between the continents of Asia over here to the west and North America over here to the east. And with that reduction in sea levels and the opening up of land, basically creating a bridge between these two continents, this will lead to a slow, and I cannot emphasize enough, slow, over thousands of years, movement, migration of peoples in what would be today's Siberia into what is going to be Alaska. And, enough people will have traversed across this land bridge into Alaska and then what will be a modern day Canada, that when sea levels do rise up again, in the future, and you'll no longer be able to walk across from Asia to North America, there'll be enough people in what is going to become North America to, expand population. And I don't just mean expand population in what is now modern day Alaska and Canada, but to actually allow, people to migrate throughout what is the entirety of what we now call the Western Hemisphere. And once again, we are talking over the course of thousands and thousands of years. You have to understand these developments, happen at an unbelievably slow pace, a snail's pace, compared to what we kind of understand in terms of change and movement in today's society. So you just have to kind of keep in mind that this didn't happen in an instant. It didn't happen overnight. This is the result of thousands of years of development and migration. Now, with that being said, over the course of those thousands of years, you will see a number of civilizations begin to, pop up across what is going to be the Western Hemisphere. And we're going to start off by taking a look at the development of societies in what is going to be Central America today. If we go back to, what is going to be kind of the late Roman Empire, early Middle Ages period, the Dark Ages in Europe, if you will, kind of the high point of the Arab Empire, the founding of Islam in the Middle East, etc. You're going to see the formation of the Mayan civilization. And the Mayan civilization is going to be established in what is going to be modern day Guatemala, Belize, and in the Yucatan region of modern day Mexico. So the Mayans are going to be seen as kind of the first, as we would kind of describe it, relatively modern civilizations, at least in terms of what Europeans and Middle Easterners would kind of think of in terms of a civilization. But that society is not going to last forever. It'll eventually die out. And if you move several hundred miles to the west into what is now modern day central Mexico, by the time we get to around 1200 or so, we're going to start to see the rise of an even more powerful, certainly more militaristic society, and that is going to be the Aztecs. And the Aztecs, as I was mentioning here a moment ago, if this is the Yucatan Peninsula where the Mayans are going to be centered. You come over here to what is today central Mexico, you're going to see the creation of the Aztec Empire. Now, this is a map of the Aztec Empire, kind of near its conclusion, right on the eve of Cortez showing up amongst other Spanish conquistadors. And you'll see here, the settlement of Tenochtitlan right here in what is today modern-day Mexico City. Now, when we do talk about these empires, such as the Mayans and the Aztecs especially, and even the Incas down in South America, you'll have to understand that, these empires, particularly the Aztec Empire, is going to be much more recognizable to Europeans than what they're going to see in what is going to become the actual future United States and Canada. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, in a place like Tenochtitlan, it was a major city, a massive, massive city. You can see here from this artist's depiction of the city, this is, going to be recognizable. Now, once again, this is not a Christian community. It's not a monotheistic society. It doesn't have the same, political structure and quite the same social structure, but it's gonna be recognizable as, okay, here's a society. You've got a major city, you've got leadership, you've got a governing, system in place. You have a polytheistic society, which, even though Europeans by this point were not embracing anymore, they at least knew of the past of that in Middle Eastern and European history. So, at least with, the Aztec Empire, it was recognizable. I mean, take a look at this. Tenochtitlan had at one point over 200,000 residents. That is more people than basically any city in Europe at that time. So, this was pretty amazing in terms of the development of Tenochtitlan. You're talking about an empire, you're talking about a society that was, in many respects, almost like the Western Hemisphere version of the Romans, at least in terms of, social development. Maybe they didn't have nearly as much real estate as the Romans did. But, and maybe not quite all the scientific innovations of the Romans, but the idea of a very urban civilization, not too far from the Romans. And I know I referenced the Incan Empire, so I wanted to make mention of that real quick here. This, of course, is in South America, basically on the west coast here along the Pacific, stretching from modern-day Ecuador down into modern-day Chile, basically bordering up against the Andes Mountains. And once again, not quite as urban as the Aztec Empire at Tenochtitlan, but still pretty developed, pretty advanced compared to what we saw in most of the history of the Western Hemisphere up to this point. And just like the Aztecs, they will be coming into contact with Spanish conquistadors. So understand that when we talk about the development of the United States, we have to kind of look at the context in terms of where these native societies were coming from. And these were very advanced, developed civilizations. They didn't quite look like European ones, but it's very, very noticeable that these were very successful societies at a very, very early time in history. And as you can see here, trade networks that we would certainly recognize connecting Europe to Asia to Africa, which were already developed in the Eastern Hemisphere, we had now seen those things developed in regions of the Western Hemisphere as well. So these people they had the same advanced concepts of trade and currency and things like that you saw in the Eastern Hemisphere. But of course, in the Western Hemisphere, you're talking about different products, different crops. Pre-Columbian exchange, you're going to be seeing, the same ideas of trade, but with very different products, such as, like, for example, maize, corn, which Europeans had never heard of prior to the Columbian exchange. So, that is important to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it there for this video. When we come back next time, we're going to be contrasting what was had already emerged in Central and South America with native societies in what is going to become the continental United States. So we'll see you there next time. Bye-bye.